Warning, the following video has flashing lights and also includes content that may be deemed inappropriate for some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised. Seth from the good old 207, aka Maine. I see. Once again, you have found your way into the darkness of the fox den to awaken me from my slumber for another episode of Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. You even brought me gifts to indulge and feast on. I do truly appreciate you. Absolutely delicious. Now that I am fully revamped, recharged, and the shackles have been released, it is once again time for Seth and, of course, LordeStarfox to take a walk into the madness.
Stood up. I said, oh my god, it's a werewolf. And everybody in the car freaked out.
My creatures of the night. Yes, once again, you are tuning in to Midnight Lycanthropy here on LordeStarfox Radio. We do have a fellow individual from the good old 207, aka Maine. Yes, joining us tonight in the darkness of the fox den. Seth, how are you doing tonight, man?
Good. How you doing?
Glad to sit down and get a chance to catch up with you. Yet to the audience tonight, we are going to allow Seth to really talk to us about some of his encounters. Long story short is he's been posting in the North American Dogman project pages for quite a while with a bunch of different interactions. Figured, hey, the hamster cage upstairs was churning, as my uncle would say. Why not just get Seth to sit down and we'll give him a good old video / podcast of things that have occurred to him. So if he wants to share that around, he no longer has to continuously post here or there about things. We'll get it all coordinated for him. Seth, I'm going to toss you the mic, my friend.
So 2 years ago, started renovating the upstairs of the garage. In the meantime, I got a 21-foot tall, 20-foot long camper, and we put it out back, and that's where I stayed instead of driving back and forth from Norwalk to Skowhegan. So I was here all night. So we parked the camper out back. It was summertime. The dog was with us laying on his bed, and we have the curtains open, windows open, and it was like 8 o'clock in the morning, and up on the little knoll, maybe not even 50 yards. I think I measured it was 50 yards. Todd, our black lab, who was 3 at the time, started like freaking out, which he never does. And I looked up at whatever the dog was looking at, and there was something standing there. I could have sworn it was a Bigfoot, but I stupidly opened the door and the dog took off and he was hauling. So I naturally went in, grabbed the Mossberg, come back out, got the dog to come back in the camper. And I was yelling to Todd, and that dog came back at a speed I've never seen that dog move. And I'm like, dude, that whatever was up there was just up there. And so I'm like, I go up there and I'm like, hey, I'm a friend. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm just like, what is going on? Like, obviously, there's some things Grandpa Bob is saying that has some truth to it. And after that, we've had so many different interactions. It is unreal, right? Just right here. I just don't even understand it. And one night, we were in the camper. There's definitely something here because there's X's and things on the ground that spell things out. And like you said, I've shared it everywhere and I've not gotten much feedback. I don't tell a lot of people about it. I don't have a lot of friends I talk to. And actually, a couple of my friends have put game cameras up, and we've had a couple corrupt SD cards in certain cameras, but not in others. And it will say, like, you have a couple pictures and you go to click on it, put it in the computer, and it'll go corrupt SD card. So we'll take the good SD card, put it in that camera, and it'll be corrupt within like a day and a half. So there's definitely something tripping those cameras. So time goes on. We keep having some interactions. We stupidly decided one night, hey, let's walk down back with some flashlights. So we walked down back and my friend decided to make some whooping calls. And we walked 200 yards down to the woods near the river. And there was this thing crouched down. It just had this really, really long black hair, glowing eyes, but they weren't red. They were yellowish. Like, it wasn't mean. We've never had anything angry. We've never had anything trying to do any harm. We've never had any of that. So, and it looked one way, looked the other, and me and my friend saw it. And so I yelled at them to stop, and this thing just dropped to the ground and disappeared. So after that night, time kind of went on a little bit, and we were staying in the camper. And this one night, Todd had his face right up against that window, like he was going to push that window out of the camper. I look over, and there's just this thing just standing there. Like, it was almost like if a person was crouching with their hands on their knees, but this thing was just so natural to be in that position. I mean, I'm 6'1", close to it, and my eyes were like level with the middle of the window. There was no way my head reached the top of the window. And the ears on this thing, dude, was just it was just so it looked like it was a dog. I wouldn't call it a dog though. It looked 100% pure, like pitch black, like when you look out the window at night and you can't see nothing in the middle of the woods because there's no stars. Like, it was that black. Its eyes weren't glowing. It didn't look angry. It didn't show its teeth. It was almost like it was looking to just check on us while we were sleeping. That's the only way I can describe it. Like, it was watching for us. Like, looking out, like making sure like we were sleeping, we were okay, nobody was messing with us. Like, there was nobody in the yard in the middle of the night. Like, it was doing its rounds and just like, hey, I'm gonna go check on these guys in the camper real quick. And when that thing took off, dude, it covered that 50 yards in like no word of a lie, like faster than I could blink, and it was silent. And it had to have been all easy 8 foot, 9 foot. Like, it was massive. Biggest one I've seen, because I have seen some things coming down the road here in the middle of the day, which I don't understand either. It's like they follow us around. We've got 2 or 3 cemeteries around here. I mean, I've got pictures of this black animal in the tree. It is no way. It's not a cat. So I went up to the top of the hill after this, and I'm like, hey, if these are your guard dogs, like, if they're fine with my dog, I'm fine with you. I'm like, but once, if you have a problem and cause a problem, then I guess, I'll have a problem. And after that, Todd would just take off for like an hour down back. He would come back just covered in slobber, like almost like he was playing with other dogs. And like, it was just weird. And we went hunting one time, and the one followed us back to the truck. And as a crow flies, it's probably 40 miles from here. So we tried another hunting spot, and like the same thing happened. Like, you can hear him walking through the woods. They don't bother you. They just leave you alone. And honestly, I don't know which way to go with this. And a few people have told me, these may be like Native American or something like that. But these things are just jet black. It's almost like somebody just literally combed them, groomed them. Like they are not mangy. They are not malnourished. They look like a giant, massive wolf. And the stories you hear, Dogman, they're mean. Some, you can hear they say they're nice. Some people say werewolf, which they transform. I think this thing falls in between that. I don't know what it is, but it is not, as of right now, it has not caused us any harm. It has not tried to scare us. Yes, it's a little creepy at night, and you hear things going in the woods, and you find deer with snap necks in the ditch next to the house. I mean, I don't know how to explain it. And it's just, I don't know. But that's, so far, these things are real. They definitely are. Then it's just hard to explain what they are, I guess, is what I should say. I'm just not really sure. They obviously feel comfortable down here along next to the river. They must go back and forth. I don't know. But, some of the stories that Gramps said and some of the things, like, I believe they're honestly true. Like, he has seen things out here because it's only been him for quite a few years and no one was here, checking on him or anything. And, we all just brushed it off. But, I mean, there's definitely activity here. And I honestly think that the Bigfoot and the Dogman coexist between each other, whether they do the same thing like we do and use them as hounds. I mean, I'm not against that because our deer population has exploded. Nobody around here wants to even talk about it. Once you start digging into the land and finding artifacts and stuff, you disturb things. So that's kind of what makes me think it's not the Dogman or the werewolf, but somewhere in between. But it definitely, because it doesn't look like a German Shepherd. It doesn't look, like any of that. It looks like a legit, giant, massive black wolf that, like, when it's down on the ground, dude, you seriously think it's normal, but when it starts moving, the thing is massive. It's the size of my four-wheeler. And that's not, and that's including some of the tail, but not all of it. And just they're not blockheads. They're just these, like, they're lean, mean machines. And they, I don't know. So I don't know if the Bigfoot use them to protect their area, to keep things out from them, because I definitely have posted pictures in other groups, and there's definitely activity there with that, which is a whole nother story. And there's just a lot going on right here. But we were sitting in the kitchen looking down the road from the big picture window by the table, and this massive looking dog steps out of the woods, dude. This thing is broad daylight. It was just as blonde as a yellow lab, and there was no way it was not a wolf. This was not a coyote. I mean, I've spent 36 years of my life in the woods. I'm 38 years old. I've always been in the woods. We always played in the woods behind the house where we grew up. I've always hunted, always fished by myself, camped by myself, and just have never paid attention to the noises. But as you think back after having something happen, you're like, man, how do you explain that? It's like, was it this? Was it that? It made me question a lot. And, I had a hard time wrapping my head around a big bipedal ape creature running through our woods in our national parks. And, it's all hush hush because nobody wants to talk about it, let alone this bipedal wolf that can just stand up when it wants to and can just, until you see one, I don't wish it on anybody to see one. And I've gone up into the woods and I've talked to them and this, that, and the other. And I've tried taking videos and sharing it. And my picture on my phone, like, my video just goes fuzzy. Like, you can't see nothing. But yet I scan down towards the house and it looks perfectly fine. I've gotten sick from it a couple times. I can't think of the word now, what it's called, but when they use the mind stuff on you, like, it's real. It's definitely real. Don't go looking for them. If they find you, there's a reason why. It's either, and to be honest, is because you're a really good person, you have a really good heart, or in most cases, you're, not, maybe you should change some things in your life to be that better person. But we saw that dog coming down the road, and the thing was just, it was far away. It was like at least 100, easily 150 yards away. And I'm like, dude, that's not a dog. My wife's like, oh, that's a dog. I'm like, there's no dog around here. I was like, I don't know anybody on this road. Granted, I don't know all the neighbors and stuff, but I notice things. It's kind of how I am. And I'm like, that's not a dog. And that thing strode down the road, and it covered ground so effortlessly, so easy. And it was just as blonde could be. And it was not a coyote. There was no way, shape, or form it was a coyote. It got within 20 yards of the house, and it just kind of just trotted its happy self into the woods. And then a couple times after that, I've seen two different individual pure black, like black as night. I say dog, but they're not. Look just like her. I would say the first one was a female because these two were bigger. And it was like a half a day later, they came following her scent through and headed right down to the river. I mean, I've got that picture. These things, like, there's no way it's a cat. I'm not buying it's a cat. It's not. So they definitely reproduce. They definitely, this thing falls somewhere in between that vicious Dogman creature and a werewolf, because I've never seen anything to say where, they shapeshift or anything like that. Like I don't know if I said it, but we have 3 cemeteries located within 1.5 miles, 2 miles of the house. Some people have said that, that could have a lot to do with it, which maybe it does, maybe it don't. Maybe it was because there was no activity out here. Yes, there's neighbors, but there's 82 acres that's like maybe 1 mile wide or so that follow down the length of the river. I say 1 mile, it's probably a little less, it's less than that. But there's no houses once you reach a certain point. And it's loaded with game, it's loaded with deer. We put game cameras up and have those corrupt SIM cards. There's definitely activity, and it's right at my back door. It is just, it's unreal. I don't know. There's definitely, I will say 100% there are bipedal walking canines. What they all are, I don't agree. They're all the same. There's some that are mean. There's some that are nice. There's some that want nothing but just to cause you harm, and then there's others that, like, this one seems submissive. It seems protective. I don't know why. Maybe it's always been there. Never noticed it. I don't know. But yeah, there's definitely something in our Maine woods running around that they say there aren't. We have too much timber and too much area for there not to be. That night we was in the camper, I will say it does correlate with the moon phases, because that's when I noticed it. And it definitely correlates from between August and all through winter till about when it gets really hot here. It gets hot for a little bit. Like I said, we're right on the river. So, the windows were cracked, but after our first few experiences, bolted the camper door. I put stuff in front of it. I tried to shut the curtains, but it was really, 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 really hot that night. So we left them open. And at this point, as soon as we hit the camper from the first experience on through, the dog, Todd, our dog, he was in his bed when it was bedtime. And like, he knew there was something out there moving around. There was something going on. There was something fishy. And like I said, it was probably about midnight, 1:00. It was dark. There was a full moon. And I'm a pretty sound sleeper. The house could burn down around me and I wouldn't know it. But like, once you go through something, you kind of, like, your brain can't really shut it off. And like, I have a hard time with that anyway. So all I remember is the dog standing between the window and, dude, I'm a little over 6 foot and my eyeballs only come to like just up over the top of not even halfway to the window. You could see the whole top of my head, and and this thing, it was just standing there. It was almost like like I said, it was just watching us. Like, it was not aggressive. It was almost like he was leaning over to put his nose up as close as he could without making any sound. And my dog was just so on edge. And I looked over at the window and this thing didn't freak out. It didn't, it's, and it's weird because like its eyes never lit up. I say it's he. I mean, I can't assume that. Maybe it was massive. It never showed any of the signs of aggression. It never showed like it was going to come and get us. Like it literally genuinely looked like it was just watching us sleep, and I know that in itself sounds creepy, but you hear these people say the hair stands up on end, they get the sick feeling to their stomach, they start, and like there was no smell, there was no noise, like there was just nothing. And I get them calmed down, and obviously I learned from the first time that Todd does not go outside. So, of course I've only got like a little 20, 30-year-old mag light that runs on C batteries. We all know how bright them things are. I mean, so I throw my pants on, no shirt. I start walking up to the top of the hill, and like not thinking anything of it, other than there was just something standing in a window. Dad mode was on, and like I weren't scared though, but something was definitely there. And I walked up to the top of the hill, and all I said was, "Hey, are you here to mess around and find out? Or are you here to make sure we're good? Are you here because we're taking care of Grandpa Bob and you guys have been here for this many years and, was checking us out?" I'm like, I just, and you could hear the footsteps, like they're very faint because it's pine needles and sticks. It's an old clear cut, just straight pine. No, that it is impossible to walk through there without at least stepping on something buried in the pine needles. And not facing the river, I would be facing northeasterly, and not, I mean, I'm not kidding, dude. Within 15, 20 feet, this twig just snapped. And it was something heavy, it wasn't a deer. Like everybody knows a big buck can make all kinds of noise going down through the woods, but anybody who knows, you can, once you start paying attention, you notice bipedal steps. And that's what I heard. And it just slowly walked away from us. Never came back that night. I mean, the dogs have definitely, we'll have other people's dogs over here, and the dogs want nothing to do with the woods. They won't even go in it. Todd, he'll just meander on up and through there. He'll go a couple 100 yards down to the right, go down the river and swim for an hour. And like I said, he'll come back at times with slobber all over him. And it's just, you can't explain it. And it's almost like something or somebody was playing with him while he was down there, but yet no one is down there. Todd goes down there. I mean, he can go down and to the left, and there's 80 acres that follow that river. So, I mean, there's quite a span of gap there where I don't know what he's doing, and I can be up here yelling to him for at least an hour before he comes back. And these things are just, they look like they're well kept, they're groomed, they're fed. They almost look like, I don't want to say protector because I don't know what they are, and I'm not, and they can be mean, some of these can be, some of them can be, I don't know, but I have not seen any aggression from any of these around here at the house. I mean, I have pictures I've shared where you can see where I'm facing the house from up on top of the hill down the little knoll. You can see the roof of the garage where our bedrooms are. I mean, they are not far away. They circle this area. I don't know, and you would think with having the dog around, like it would scare him off, but he's never been hurt. The only time he's ever come back hauling like that was that very first time when we saw whatever it was. And there's like a 4 foot ditch behind it. So that puts that thing at 8 foot tall. I measured it. It puts this thing at 8 foot tall, not, to the center of the muzzle. Not talking top of the head, not talking top of the ears. And when I saw that thing that night in the camper, and it was almost like a giant guard dog that was not a dog. This thing is 100% wild. It doesn't even resemble the German Shepherd look at all. This thing is a wolf. It is a pure, giant, jet black wolf. There's no other explanation for it. And I'll have to dig back through my pictures, but I got up in the morning I got Eli inside, got Todd inside, obviously. Todd wanted to go investigate, so I kind of grabbed the scruff, brought him inside. And he wasn't acting, whatever. He was curious. And I'm like, I'm just not dealing with this at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I put him in the house. They went inside, had their breakfast and stuff. I grabbed the Mossberg, and I hate to say it, but I did because I'm been in the woods in Maine my whole life. I ain't going out there without the Mossberg. And I walked up through there, come along the backside of the camper, and there was bipedal looking, half human looking dog tracks. And I mean, I followed them all the way up to the top of the hill because it's kind of like clayey sand. So anytime it rains, you can see impressions. If a person walked up barefoot, you could see the person's toes where they're trying to climb the hill. Like, these tracks were there. They were 100% there. Have no explanation for what they are. They're here. They're not going nowhere. They've probably been here longer than we have. And we still don't know. We're just so blind to a lot of things. And until you open your mind up to we're not the only things in this world on this planet, like, you are going to miss a lot. I guess my question is why is it so looked upon to talk about? Why are we not told about these things? I mean, I guess I kind of understand because you know how people are, and they're not very nice. But what do they want? Where did they come from? How long have they been here? And why is there so many variations? And why do they have to be aggressive? Why do they choose only certain people? Why do they kind of force, per se, look after people? I'm not saying that's what this one's doing, but it gives off that vibe. Why do some make you want to wet your pants as soon as you see it? Why do some give you this nasty smile? Because there's plenty of stories out there where people have seen them and it looks like they're just smiling with double rows of teeth. Like, this thing did not have any of that.
We'll definitely keep on trucking away, my friend. I appreciate you hanging out tonight.
Yeah, dude. Thanks for having me on, man.
Ooh, my creatures of the night. I do adore every single one of you. And thank you for hanging out with us. Please like, comment, subscribe, share the truth to the algorithm. And remember, there are things that go bump in the night that are much worse than myself.